Good morning to all. On behalf of our management, principal, and staff, I welcome you all for a 4-day webinar on UGC NET Education at a Glance for Aspirants. I'm honored to welcome the most eminent professor, Dr. S. Arulsamy sir, Associate Professor, Department of Education, Badya University, Coimbatore. Welcome, sir. Before I start the session, I would like to invite Mr. S. Vinod Kumar, Assistant Professor of Biological Science and Organizing Secretary of this webinar, to introduce our resource person.
Good morning, sir. A very good morning to all in the online platform. It is my great honor to and pleasure to introduce Dr. S. Arulsamy, Associate Professor, Department of Education, Bharat University, Coimbatore. On this pleasant and fresh morning, it is my privilege to introduce our respected resource person, sir. He is graduated in Zoology, MSc, MPhil, and MPhil Education and PhD Education. In his areas of specializations are Education Technology, Environmental Education, and Social Administration and School Administration. He served as a lecturer in Pope John Paul II College of Education, Puducherry, in 7.5 years. Presently, he working as an associate professor, Department of Education, Bharat University, Coimbatore. More than 15 years of experience in teaching field and 10 years experience in research field. SAR published more than 30 articles in national and international journals, presented research papers in various international and national seminars. He contributed as an advisory and organizing member of various workshops, conferences, and completed two UGC projects in Bharat University. Under the guidance of Sir, 3 students completed MPhil and 5 students completed PhD in education. He is fully dedicated professor in the field of education and very appreciable and good motivator. In this online seminar for UGC NET education aspirants to given some ideas to attend the NET exam aspirants. In his life career, Sir written 14 books related to the field of education. About the brief introduction is given the great thought about the resource person of the valuable seminar. Thank you for the management and principal for giving this opportunity to introduce our resource person, Dr. S. Arun Sami sir. Good morning, sir. Thank you, sir. Now the session handed over to you. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Yes, at the outset, I'd like to thank uh, the administration of Kasturi College of Education and the organizing secretary and joint secretary of this 4-day national level webinar on UGC NET for giving me this wonderful opportunity to meet you all in this virtual platform. And also, I would like to thank you all in anticipating your cooperation. So, with your cooperation, I am going to give. I am not going to give an elaborate lecture. I am going to give only a brief lecture. So, the title allotted for me is Learners and Learning Process. It's a very vast area. It's a very vast area. It's very difficult to complete. The entire syllabus is given, and there's a learner and learning process. Within 1.5 hours is very difficult. However, I am going to give some gist of this. What is it? Unit. So I just throw a light on this area that will be very helpful, and you'll get some idea about this title, learner and learning processes. So with this brief introduction, let us start my session. Uh, and I believe definitely it will be very useful to you all. Can you see the screen? PPT?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, yes. So this class we are going to learn this learner and learning processes. As you all know, it covers the all type of psychological variables. Learners. So, what are the psychological variables influencing the learning process, and what are the variables, other variables the learners have? So, the learners and learning processes is nothing but the psychological variables the learner has, how influencing his learning or learning process. So this is what we are going to learn in this what is it unit, learner and learning process. So let us start with this concept of growth and development, that all of you might have studied this title in our B.Ed syllabus itself. So growth and development, what is the difference between the growth and development? Growth is what is this, the term is used to purely physical sense. Generally refers to increase size and length. Size and length. So when we talk about the height of the student or weight of the students, it means only the growth. And development is what? Development implies the overall changes in shape, form, or structure resulting in improving working or function. And for example, now it's a qualitative, I think, is emotional status, is what is it, mental status, okay, all type of psychological variables, no, social development, mental development, physical development, moral development, everything is coming under development. So development is a broad concept, and growth is an arrow. So the growth is within the development process of an individual. Growth found within the development process of an individual. And the growth changes the quantitative aspect coming to domain of growth. It's a quantitative in terms of height, in terms of weight, in say terms of width. Okay. So this is a quantitative process. We can measure it, we can measure the growth, okay, how many kg the particular person has, and weight, height we can measure, whereas the development changes in the qualitative or the character rather than the quantitative aspect coming to the domain. We can assess the development, we can assess the development process. So as I said, no, is the mental IQ, intelligent quotient, emotional quotient, okay, social development, okay, interpersonal relationship. So all these things we can assess the, and personality type. So this is development, this is under development. And cognitive process, next we'll see this cognitive process. What is cognitive process? Cognitive process, the mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and senses. So this is called what? Cognitive process. So the cognitive process is nothing but mental action. Mental action is otherwise called cognitive process. So what cognitive process is? Acquiring knowledge and understanding through various experience, thoughts, and senses. So this is called cognitive process. So these are all the gateway of a cognitive process. So all these things is given this diagram. No, intelligence. Intelligence is an inherent quality. Basically, at the time of birth, the child has some intelligent level. So this is one inherent quality. The inherent qualities also determines the cognitive mental status or mental process. And attention is another psychological variable that you might have studied in your what is it, memory, forgetting, and attention, that unit you might have studied in your B.Ed. Language, memory, sense of sensation and perception, all sense organs, cognitive process, all sense organs gateway of knowledge that you might have studied. No, gateway of knowledge as eye, ear, nose, and tongue and skin. So five senses. These five senses helps to acquire knowledge from various from environment and thought. So all these things are cognitive helps to for the development of cognitive process. Then cognitive development, Piaget's cognitive development theory, no, cognitive development, Jean Piaget's cognitive. According to Jean Piaget, no, cognitive development has four stages: sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, formal operational stage. The sensory motor stage is the first stage. It starts from the 0 to 2 years, from the birth to 2 years. And pre-operational stage is from 2 to 7 years. Concrete operational stage is 7 to 12 years, and formal operational 12 years onwards is a formal operational stage. So the child's cognitive development gradually grows and develops from pre-operational to formal operational stage. So the sensory motor stage is the first stage immediately after birth. No, the child understands the world through the senses and action. He doesn't know anything. The child doesn't know anything. So it perceives everything. It understands everything only through its five senses. Right. So this is what sensory motor stage. Okay. And pre-operational stage is 2 to 7 years, understand the world through language and mental images. So the child has develops his own mental images. That mental image helps to understand the world. So this is the pre-operational stage. And concrete operational stage, understand the world through logical thinking and categories. So at this stage, 2 to 17, the child needs some concrete examples to understand the world. If we give the concrete example, the child can easily understand the world. Otherwise, it's very difficult to understand the concepts. The child needs some concrete examples. That's why it's a concrete operational stage. And the last one is formal operational stage. So the child can understand the world, and the hypothetical thinking is developed, and even the child can easily understand the abstract concept. So in the previous concrete operational stage, pre-operational stage, the child needs some concrete examples. Without the concrete example, the child cannot understand the concept. Whereas in the formal operational stage, the child can easily understand the concepts in a hypothetical manner and in abstract manner. So the mathematics, no, and mathematics and even physics and chemistry, there are many abstract concepts out there. The child can learn the abstract concept without any proper example or concrete example, not example, concrete example. So the child understand the world through hypothetical thinking and scientific reasoning. So this is the formal operational stage. It starts from 12 years and onwards. So why we have to learn all these things? Based on his mental development, we should frame the curriculum. We should frame the curriculum. So the abstract concept should be given to the child only after the age of 12. So we should not give the abstract concept to the child to the 17 to 7 to 11 or 10 years old. If we give the abstract concept in this age group now, 2 to 10 or 11, the child feels very difficult to understand, or even sometimes the child couldn't understand the concept. Why? Because the child doesn't have the proper mental development, and the child cannot imagine or frame uh, abstract concept in his mind. So this is the reason why we should give only. So you might have seen in the lower classes. In the lower classes, the color pictures are given for apple, A for apple, B for ball, okay, C for cat. So the child needs some images to understand the concept. Whereas now, if we go for higher studies, no, in higher classes, the books doesn't have books don't have any pictures at all, because the child can imagination develops at this stage. When there is a pre-operational and concrete operation, imagination capacity is very less. Whereas in the formal operations, the child can imagine, hypothetical thinking develop. So this is for stages of cognitive development. Then next we will say, so in your syllabus is given personality. What is personality? Personality refers to individual differences in the characteristics pattern of thinking, feeling, and behavior. So personality is what? Individual differences is everywhere. Individual differences is everywhere. So based on this, what a thinking pattern, feeling, and behavior. The study of personality focuses on two broad areas. One is understanding individual differences in a particular personality characteristics, such as sociability and irritability. Sociability and irritability. And Freud theory on personality. Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud analytic theory of personality development. Psychoanalytic theory. Psychoanalytic theory. As how this gentleman, Freud, Sigmund Freud, described the structure of our brain. Describe the structure of the brain, which argues that personality is informed through conflicts among the fundamental structure of human mind, in the ego and superego. In the ego and superego. So the three stages, mind has three levels now, in the ego and superego. So this concept was given by Sigmund Freud. So what it means I want to do that now. Now right now I have to do it. It is animal behavior. It is animal behavior. I want to do that now. Right now I have to do everything. So this is what it doesn't have any morality. It doesn't have any moral values. It doesn't have any moral values. It doesn't have any morality. So it has urge to attain this need immediately. So it doesn't understand what which is right and which is wrong. Okay, and superego, it is not right to do that. But superego is what? Superego prevents the activity of the id. So rationalize is what is the activity. So superego, it is not right to do that. So which one is right? It analyzes and differentiates which is right and which is wrong. That is what superego. And what is ego? Ego is maybe we can compromise. So this is what ego. Ego maintaining the balance between the id and superego. So we have to do that particular work, but we should not at the same time we should follow the rules and regulations. That is what super ego. Ego. Okay, id says I want, superego says id says you don't, you should do, and superego says you should not do, but ego maintain the balance between these two. Maintain the balance between the two. So this is what Sigmund Freud theory of personality says. Then Carl Rogers theory of personality. Carl Rogers theory of personality. Carl Rogers was a prominent humanist psychologist. Humanist theory. Humanist theory was given by Carl Rogers. He is known for his theory of personality that emphasizes change, growth, and potential for human growth. Change, growth, and potential for human growth. Carl Rogers was a prominent psychologist and one of the founding members of the humanist theory, humanist movement or humanist theory. So this is what human-based theory. Psychologists, every human being needs all these what is it? Needs, physiological needs, safety need, love and belonging, psychological need, self-esteem, and self-actualization. So that the same thing we might have studied in Abraham Maslow's need hierarchy theory. So Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, no? So both are giving this need hierarchy theory, physiological needs. So what are the physiological needs a human being need? Breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, excretion. So all these things are physiological needs. Safety, Balu sir, safety, security of body, of employment, of resources, morality, family, health, prosperity, everything is coming under safety needs. Okay, the first thing is what physiological. Once all these physiological needs are attained, then the human being is longing for what is security, employment, resources, morality, family, wealth, etc. And once the safety needs satisfied, the third one is friendship, family, sexual intimacy. Is longing for friendship, longing for family, and sexual intimacy. This is the third level. And self-esteem, confidence, achievement, respect of others, respect by others. And last one is self-actualization. As a self-actualization is in terms of morality, creativity, spontaneity, problem solving, lack of prejudice, acceptance of facts, etc. So all these things coming under self-actualization. So this is what Carl Rogers and Maslow's Abraham Maslow says in the humanistic theory. A Gordon Allport theory of personality. A Gordon Allport theory of personality emphasizes the uniqueness of the individuals and the internal cognitive and motivational processes that influence behavior. So once behavior is influenced by the internal cognitive and motivational process of an individual. So it depends on the personality of an individual, depends on his mental process and motivational process. Internal cognitive process is nothing but mental process and motive, how the child or how the human being is motivated. So it depends on its uniqueness, it emphasizes the uniqueness of an individual. So the personality type varies from individual to individual, because the reason why the internal cognitive process and mental process of the person varies from one person to another person. For example, intelligence, temperament, habits, skill, attitude, and traits. So these are all the variables. Now these are all the uh, uh, things influencing the personality of an individual as per Gordon Allport theory. So Gordon Allport now identified thousands of personality traits. So not one or two traits, thousands of personality traits, grouping them into three categories. So he identified thousands of personality traits. All these thousands of personality traits coming under three categories: cardinal trait, central trait, and secondary trait. So cardinal trait, central trait, and secondary trait. Gordon Allport says cardinal, secondary. That we'll see what is cardinal trait. Dominate an individual's whole life, this cardinal trait. The person becomes known specifically to these traits. For example, hatred may have seen cardinal trait of Hitler. Cardinal trait Hitler, no, as hatred. Hatred is an every example. People with such personality often become known as of these traits. Central traits. The general characteristics that form the basic foundation of personality, not the dominating as cardinal trait. Major characteristics you might use to describe another person. So, for example, that central trait, intelligence, honest, shy, anxious, are considered as a central trait. And third one is the secondary trait. So, getting anxious when speaking to a group or impatient while waiting in line. So, these are all some example traits that often appears only certain situation. So, not as a permanent trait. These type of traits appears in a certain situation or under a specific circumstances. For example, getting anxious when speaking to a group. Not always anxious. So he is anxious or she is anxious only when he is talking with a group, in a group, or impatient while waiting in a line. Okay, so this is what secondary trait. It's a temporary one. And next theory, Max Wertheimer theory. Max Wertheimer theory of personality now was one of the founding figures of school of thought known as Gestalt psychology. What Gestalt psychology is, Gestalt approach focused on looking at things as a whole, not separate, suggesting that the whole is more than simply the sum of its parts. So we should not look at the individual thing. We should think the entire things. Focusing on looking at things as a whole. So this is what Gestalt. So whole. Gestalt means nothing but whole. Whole. So Gestalt, focused on perception, how perception influence thinking and problem solving. Gestalt means whole, configuration, pattern, and Gestalt psychology is illustrated how we tend to perceive separate piece of information. So if we perceive the separate piece of information, it will lead to a wrong interpretation. So if we perceive the separate piece of information, it leads to wrong interpretation. So we should get the correct interpretation. We should uh, look at a whole, okay, as a means whole. As integrate the whole, integrate the whole. So this Gestalt now Maxwell Thimier opposes the Wundt approach in searching for basic mental elements because the whole is more than sum of parts. That we are in learning theory, Gestalt learning theory we are studying. Then Katkhofer theory of personality. Katkhofer theory of personality. Katkhofer major work extending Gestalt theory, developmental psychology was published in 1921. He maintained that infants first perceive and respond holistically. First perceive and respond holistically. That's as we have seen in the Gestalt theory. Only later are able to perceive the individual sensation of the comprise the whole. So individual to specific to whole, specific to whole. This is what Kofka theory says. And next we'll see mental health and mental hygiene. Mental health and mental hygiene is a practice of trying to maintain mental health through probiotic behavior and treatment. Mental hygiene is a practice of trying maintaining mental health. This is what mental hygiene. So physical hygiene we might have studied, no? Is a mental hygiene is a mental health through proactive behavior. So if you want to maintain the mental hygiene, we must have this proactive behavior. That is very important. Mental health is one, overall psychological well-being. This is what mental health. Hygiene refers to method of perceiving health. In a popular sense, it refers to thinking like brushing your teeth and washing your hands. The same thing. It's a comparison. So how to think, how to brush, and how to brush, how to wash. The same thing. How to think, how to think. So this is what mental health. Mental health. How to think. And next, intelligence is given in the syllabus. Intelligence is the ability to think, to learn from experience, to solve problems, and to adapt to new situations. So this is called what intelligence. Intelligence is important because it has an impact on many human behaviors. Psychologists believe that there is a construct known as general intelligence that is called denoted as G that account for overall differences in intelligence among the people. So general intelligence is responsible for the overall differences in intelligence among people. There is also evidence to specific intelligence is denoted by S, which are measured by specific skills in narrow domains including creativity, practical intelligence. It is denoted by S, specific intelligence. And the intelligence quotient IQ is measured of intelligence that is adjusted for the age. Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale WEIS is most widely used IQ test for adult. brain volume, speed of neural transmission, and working memory capacity are related to IQ. So the IQ level of a person is determined by the brain volume, speed of neural transmission, working memory capacity. Between 40% to 80% of the variability in IQ is due to genetics, meaning that overall genetics plays a bigger role than the environment, thus creating IQ difference among individuals. So 40 to 80% of the IQ is determined by heredity, that is genetics. If father is an intelligent man, my father and mother is intelligent, automatically the child is also intelligent. Intelligence is improved by education and may be hindered by environmental factors such as poverty. At the same time, emotional intelligence refers to the ability to identify, assess, manage, and control one's emotions. People who are better able to regulate their behaviors and emotions are also more successful in their personal and social encounters. Let us see the social intelligence. What is social intelligence? Social intelligence is the capacity to know oneself and know others. So this is what social intelligence. Social intelligence is nothing but knowing myself and knowing others. First I should know myself and then I should know others. This is what social intelligence. Social intelligence develops from experience with people and learning from success and failures in social settings. So this is what social intelligence develop from experience with people and learning from success and failures in the social settings is called social intelligence. It's more commonly referred as tact or common sense or straight smart. Social intelligence is referred. And what are the 5 ways of increasing social intelligence? The first one, keep track of how you are feeling. Okay, what I am feeling. So this is very important. Keep track. This know myself. Approach interpersonal interaction with the receptiveness. So maintaining the interpersonal relationship with the people. Receptiveness is very important. So listen to other people. Interaction with receptiveness. So when you have an interaction with people, you should be receptive. You should listen to what the people say, and make an effort to put yourself in other person's shoes. Make an effort to put yourself in other person's shoes. So involvement, okay, other person's, so others' activity. So make effort to put yourself. So cooperation, so sympathy, empathy, everything is done. See, it develops social intimacy, social relationship. Okay, and read invisible interconnections in social apparatus. Social apparatus are invisible interconnections. So all psychological variables, no emotions are coming under this, feelings is coming under this. Invisible interconnection in social apparatus. Learn to interpret people's non-verbal behavior. So their body language. You should learn how to interpret the non-verbal communication of the person. Non-verbal learn to interpret the people's non-verbal behavior of the people. Right? So this is what social intelligence. And multiple intelligence. Next we will see multiple intelligence. Multiple intelligence is the area first posted by Harvard Developmental Psychology Howard Gardner in 1983 to suggest human intelligence can be differentiated into 8 modalities. What are the 8 modalities? Human intelligence: visual, spatial, verbal, linguistic, musical, rhythmic, logical, mathematical, interpersonal, intrapersonal, naturalist, and body kinesthetic. So these are all the 8, multiple intelligence as per Howard Gardner in 1983. multiple intelligence is given on musical, kinesthetic, intrapersonal, linguistic, mathematical, naturalistic, interpersonal, visual. Okay, right? Interpersonal, intrapersonal is given. Emotional intelligence. What is mean emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence, otherwise known as emotional quotient or EQ. As we have seen earlier, now IQ. So emotional intelligence is EQ. It's the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions. It's very important now. Many students and many people in the society, okay, they don't have those. In India, particularly, people, the communal clashes are there and other problems are there. The problem is what? Emotional immaturity. Emotional intelligence is very low. So what the emotional intelligence means? Understand, use and manage our own emotions. Easily their emotions are triggered by politicians and other people because they are not emotionally intelligent. If they are emotionally intelligent, no one can influence their emotions. So this is what ability to understand, use and manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges and diffuse conflict. So this emotion is the main cause for lack of emotional intelligence is the main cause for all type of conflicts. So what the main thing in the emotional intelligence is self-awareness. So these characteristics, these factors increases your emotional intelligence or determine your emotional intelligence. Self-awareness, empathy, motivation, self-regulation and social skill. If we have all these five, what is the components, we are emotionally intelligent. So what is self-awareness? Who am I? So this is self-awareness. First of all, I should know who am I, self-awareness. Empathy, okay, looking things in the other's point of view, that is what empathy. Then motivation, so intrinsically we have to motivate. And self-regulation, regulate my emotions. And skill, social skill, interpersonal skill. If I have all these things, I am emotionally mature. Sternberg theory of intelligence. Sternberg triarchy theory of intelligence contends that intelligent behavior arises from a balance between analytical, creative, and practical abilities. And these abilities function collectively to allow individuals to achieve success within the particular socio-cultural context. So balance among three things. What are the three things? Analytical, creative, and practical abilities. So maintain the balance. So this is what Sternberg triarchic theory, triarchics three. What a tri means three. Triarchic theory, analytical, creative, and practical abilities. So these three things collectively allow individual to achieve success in within particular socio-cultural context. This is what Sternberg theory of intelligence says. Analytical, compare and evaluate, analyze. Creative, insight, synthesize, adapting in unique situation. Practical, dealing with everyday tasks relating to the world. So this is the three things, three abilities, three types of abilities. Analytical, creative and practical. Howard Gardner theory of multiple intelligence proposes that people are not born with all intelligence they will ever have. This theory challenged the traditional notion that there is one single type of intelligence, sometimes known as G factor, that we have already seen for general intelligence, that only focuses on cognitive ability. Theory of multiple intelligence we already seen. And problem solving. Problem solving is a psychology refers to the process of finding solution to the problems encountered in life. Solutions to these problems are usually situation or context specific. The process starts with the problem finding and problem shaping, where the problem is discovered and simplified. Problem solving stages now started defining the problem, brainstorming, pick a solution, implementation of solution, review the result. So these are all the 5 steps involved in problem solving. First of all, we should know is if I ask the question, what's your problem? Many students and many people, they are not able to define that problem. Even in a research, no, and MPhil and PhD level, what is your problem, research problem? Scholars and students, they are not able to define their research problem. So first of all, we should know, identify the problem and define our problem. So this is very important. And brainstorming solution. So finding the various what is it solutions, okay, options, no options, no for solutions, and pick a appropriate solution. So possible solution, brainstorming solution means what? Finding out the possible solutions, number of possible solutions. And third one, pick a solution. See, you pick one of the specific or appropriate solution from the list of solutions or for the problem, and implement the solution to the problem and review the result. So these are all the steps involved in problem solving. Then critical thinking. Theoretical critical thinking involves helping the students develop an appreciation of scientific explanation of behavior. Critical thinking involves helping the students develop an appreciation of scientific explanation of the. This is what critical thinking. This means learning not just the content of psychology, but how and why psychology is organized into concepts, principles, laws, and theories. How and why psychology is organized. This is what critical thinking. Concepts, principles, laws, and theories. Appreciation of scientific explanation for everything. That's why now as the second paragraph, concept, principles, laws, and theories. Steps: reasoning, evaluating, problem solving, decision making, analyzing. These are all the common components of what is a critical thinking. Various critical thinking skills, no? Reasoning skill, evaluating skill, problem solving skill, decision making skill, analyzing skill. And metacognition. What is metacognition? Metacognition is put simply thinking about one's thinking. So how to think. Okay? Thinking about one's thinking. How to think. More precisely, it refers to the process used to plan, monitor, and assess one understanding and performance. So metacognition includes a critical awareness of one's thinking and learning, and oneself as a thinker and learner. Thinker and learner. So I should know how to think, and I should evaluate my own thinking, my own thinking. That is what metacognition. So this is the metacognition, intentional thinking about how you think and learn. How you think and learn. Your thinking activities and processes. I should know how I am thinking, and I should learn how to think. Metacognition. Then creativity. Creativity is defined as a tendency to generate or reorganize ideas, alternatives, possibilities that may be useful solving problems, communicating with others, and entertaining ourselves and others. So this is what creativity. Generate or recognize ideas, alternatives, or possibilities that may be useful in solving problems, communicating with others, and entertaining ourselves and others. So these are the steps involved in preparation of inspiration. Inspiration is very important for any creativity. Okay, motivation is mother of all creativity. Creativity, preparation of inspiration, incubation, illumination, and verification. Theory of learning. Theories of learning. Under theories of learning, we will learn behaviorism. Learning and behavior changes are acquired by thinking, stimuli, and response. Cognitivism. Learning is internal and it's a result of students processing and organizing new information. Constructivism. Constructivism. Knowledge is constructed by adapting new information based on previous experience. This is constructivism. Main theories of learning now, behaviorism is based on stimulus response. Then cognitivism. Cognitivism is based on flow of knowledge. Constructivism as a mental model. Experimentalism, learning experiences, based on learning experiences. And social and contextual, learn from and with others. Learn from others and learn with others. So these are all the 5 level development of learning theories. Theories are based stimuli response to learn with others and learn from others. And social competence. Social competence is defined as the ability to handle social interaction effectively. As we guys know, and IQ, intelligent quotient, emotional quotient, and another one is the same line is social competence is also coming. Social competence is defined as the ability to handle social interaction effectively. In other words, social competence refers to getting along well with others. So people, those who don't have this social competence, never cope up with the other people. So social competence refers to getting along with others, being able to form and maintain close relationship. So if I don't have this social competence, I never have any relationship with the people and I have no friends. And responding in adaptive ways in social setting. This is what social competence. Personal competence and social competence. What's the difference between personal and social competence? So personal competence is your relationship with yourself. I know myself. I have relationship with myself. I have relationship with myself. Okay. First of all, I should accept myself. I should accept myself. That is personal competence. Many people know is they are not successful in their life. The reason why is they are not accepting themselves. They are not accepting themselves. First, I should accept myself. That is what personal competence. Self-awareness. How in tune you are with your emotions. Okay. I should know how to tune my emotions. Self-management. Your ability to regulate your emotional status. So this is what personal competence. Then second one is social competence. Your relationship with others. The first personal competence, my relationship with myself, and social competence, my relationship with others. How in tune you are with others' emotions. So adjust with the others' emotions, social awareness, and your ability to navigate emotions in interaction with others. Then last one is guidance and counseling. Guidance and counseling. Guidance is a broader and comprehensive term. So very often we are using in our educational guidance and counseling, a broader comprehensive term. Counseling is in-depth, narrow, also integral part of guidance. So we cannot separate the guidance and counseling. We cannot separate the guidance and counseling. Guidance is more external. helps a person understand alternative solutions available to him, makes him understand his personality and choose a right solution. So external guidance is given externally. Counseling helps people understand themselves. Just we can what is it? Give some what is it? Ideas. Counseling helps people understand themselves. So in counseling, the counselor makes the counselee who he is, or who she is. That is what counseling. Counseling helps people understand themselves is an inward analysis. So the counseling helps me to know who am I. The counseling helps me to know who am I. Is an inward analysis. Alternative solutions are proposed to help understand the problem at hand. And guidance is mainly preventive or developmental. So guidance is nothing but as often we are using prevention is better than cure. Prevention is better than cure. That is guidance. Counseling is what nothing but curing mechanism. Count remedial as well as preventing development. As the problem is there, the counseling helps to recover from this problem, come out from the problem. Guidance. It can be done on an individual as well as group. Guidance may be given to group or individual. But counseling is done only individual at a time. Only one individual at a time. Not group counseling, only one individual at a time. The guidance, intellectual attitude or the raw material of guidance is intellectual attitudes. So, in intellectual attitudes are handled in guidance, whereas emotions are handled in counseling. Emotional rather than pure intellectual attitude are raw material for the counseling process. Guidance enables solve educational, vocational, and other personal issues. Counseling usually helps to solving issues related to emotional and mental health of a person. A person. The focus of guidance is on finding solution and may bring attitude changes. Counseling, the focus is not solution but on understanding problems. Guidance, decision making happens at an intellectual level, okay, and the decision making happens at emotional level in counseling. So various types of guidance, no, moral, social guidance, vocational guidance, leisure time guidance, health guidance, educational guidance, personal guidance. So there are various types of guidance. Approaches of counseling, cognitive behavioral Albert Ellis, and personal centered counseling, person centered counseling. Cognitive behavioral approach, rational emotive behavior therapy, REBT. It's a pioneer of the cognitive behavior therapy developed by Albert Ellis as an action-oriented approach to maintain cognitive, emotional, and behavioral disturbance. According to Albert Ellis' REBT, it is largely of thinking about event that leads to emotional and behavioral upsets. And person-centered counseling. Person-centered therapy was developed by Carl Rogers in 1940s. This type of therapy diverged from the traditional model of therapies. It's expert and moved instead towards a non-directive, empathetic approach that empowers and motivates the client in a therapeutic process. Okay, so this is what person-centered counseling: concurrence, empathy, and unconditional positive rewards. So with this, I wind up this session. Once again, I thank the administration of Kasturi College of Education and organizer secretary of this 4-day webinar on UGC net coaching. So thank you one and all.
Thank you very much, sir, for your outstanding and informative presentation. The way you present the information on the topic of growth and development, theories of personality, and theories of intelligence, and theories of learning, and its approaches is a excellent one, sir. Really, we are grateful to you, sir, for accepting our invitation and handling this session. On behalf of the management and principal, thank you once again, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.